I think it's a mistake. I think everything the Panthers have done probably the last 5 or 6 years has been just a knee-jerk reaction. They've had what, three head coaches here in the last
Yeah.
7 years or 6 years. They've had different offensive coordinators. So they've just had so much turnover in this organization, and it really affects like a young quarterback. He's in his second year. He's already had two head coaches. He's had two offensive coordinators, and that's a lot to learn. And you never really get comfortable. And then they haven't put around the assets around him to make him better. And I think you see this in a lot of number one overall picks. They usually go to a bad team. That's why they're drafted that high. And they usually are asked to play too quickly. And that's one of the reasons why they have bad success in the beginning. And when you have bad success, now all of a sudden you lose your confidence. And I think that's where Bryce is right now. He doesn't have a lot of confidence. He's had the snot beat out of him the last year or so. And it's really hard to go out there and perform when you're not knowing where you're going to get hit next and you don't feel real comfortable with what you're doing.
Warren, do you believe still, even if it's somewhere else, and it seems likely that it would need to be somewhere else at this point, but do you think that he can be successful in the NFL? Does he have the tools and the makeup to make it as a quarterback?
I really think he does. He's a small guy. Everybody knows that, and I think that's his only drawback. Otherwise, he's a playmaker. He's been a very accurate passer in his college and high school careers, and that shouldn't just fall off just because he's into the National Football League. You look at a guy like Sam Darnold, who was a number 3 overall pick that went to the Jets, bad organization at that time. Then he goes to Carolina, of all places, and another bad situation for him. But then you go to San Francisco and you're able to be with a qualified head coach, great talent, and you get a chance to just sit back and learn and watch. Now he's in Minnesota as a starter and he's starting to flourish. So sometimes it takes a little while. You got to be in the right environment. And I think that's what Bryce needs. He needs another maybe change of address, maybe be behind a veteran where he can just sit and watch and kind of learn and get his confidence back. And then the next time they put him on the field, I think you'll see a better prospect.
Warren, and I could ask you about Bryce all day. Moving on though to Tua Tagovailoa, another concussion. We know
Yeah.
he's on the IR now. You've heard a lot of people, especially the doctors who really are well versed when it comes to head injuries and CTE, say maybe Tua, it's time to actually thinking about hanging the pads up. I can't even imagine being in that situation and how difficult of a decision it's got to be for Tua. But as somebody who had such a long career, Warren, who has, you've been hit, you had your bell rung. What do you make of what's going on with Tua right now, and what do you think that he should do?
Yeah, I mean, not only did I get my bell rung, I had 6 diagnosed concussions over the course of my
Wow,
career. So
and
uh,
those are
I
only
know what
diagnosed.
I know what he's talking about, and I know what everybody else is talking about because they seen what happens on the field when these things happen. Your body freezes up, and in a lot of cases you lose memory. Some guys are knocked out. And then the long-term effects is what everybody's really worried about. He's 26 years old right now, just signed this huge contract. His whole life is still ahead of him. And I'm sure he wants to go out there and not only prove that he's worth this money, but he also wants to win and he wants to be there for his teammates. So it's a huge decision that you have to make. And now all of a sudden he has to worry about what's 20 years, 30 years down the road. What is the effects of these concussions going to do to his life, for his family and his kids and all those things? So big decision. I'm glad they put him on IR right now. He gets 4 weeks to kind of get more information from different neurologists and be able to make a very critical decision.
How do you feel, Warren? I mean, like you said, I mean, 6 diagnosed. Who knows if there were more? Probably more, right? Have you felt any of the impact, sort of as the years come and go after your playing career?
If you ask certain people, I'm out of my mind. but but for me, I feel like I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
I, I've had a lot of neurology tests over the last so many years as
Wow.
part of the NFL's evaluation process, and I've passed all of those. I don't feel like I've lost any memory or anything like that. And then there's certain things that happen. You don't know if it's because of old age or not, or
Right.
if it's because you had concussion. So every day I wonder if I'm ever going to feel any major effects of
Yeah.
the concussions. Maybe it's Alzheimer's disease or dementia or some of the other things guys have been suffering from. But so far, I feel really good. I'm taking good care of myself, and I'm hoping the same thing for Tua as he moves on with his life.
The Steelers, Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, they brought in Russell Wilson to be the starter. They said in the preseason Russell was the starter. He's dealt with this calf injury. Now, you've got Justin Fields, who is playing pretty well. They're 2-0. Uh, he's got to remain the starter, doesn't he, Warren? Or if Russell is healthy, do you insert him back as the starter and take Justin Fields out despite the 2-0 start?
I think you've got to keep Justin Fields in there as a starter, and they haven't lost a game, and seems to has gotten better from game one to game two, and you would hope that he just continues to keep getting better in this system. Like you said, Russell was brought in as the veteran to get their season off to a start, but I think that's what Mike Tomlin wanted them to get off to a really good start with the veteran, and that's why he chose Russell. But Justin has shown he's gotten off to a good start, and I think he can do more things. His upside is higher than Russell's down the road, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's staying in there. If he continues to keep playing the way he is, I think he will be their quarterback. But if he starts to turn the ball over or do some of those things he did in the preseason, then he also has Russell to fall back on once he gets healthy. So it's a pretty good situation there because you have two quarterbacks that they can play. But sometimes they say when you have two quarterbacks, that means you don't have one.
Oh, and it's not easy to find the quarterback. They've obviously had trouble since Ben retired. Do you think that Justin Fields is the guy there now? When you look 2-3 years down the line, Justin Fields still a young guy. I think a lot of people would say he didn't get a fair shake in Chicago. Do you see
Well,
him as being the guy?
I think he can be. I think if you look at just his talent level and everything he's got to work with, he can be an amazing player. But he's got to be able to, first of all, throw the ball from the pocket, be more of a rhythm type passer. You can't hold on to the football sometimes as long as he does, and always try and make the big play. But once he learns those things and plays more in rhythm, yes, I think he can be a very special player in this league because he does have some of those gifts with his legs that he can create plays outside the pocket with his arm, but he can also run the football down the field, which puts a lot of pressure on a defense.
Like you said, Warren, there's not much sitting and watching these days. You're drafted and you play. What have you thought about some of the rookie quarterbacks that you've seen so far? Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix. Who have you liked? Who haven't you liked?
You know, I like them all, but I understand what they're going through. Caleb Williams is dealing with an offensive line that isn't great. He took a beating the other night against the Houston Texans, and he's got to learn to get rid of the football too. That's something that a lot of these young guys, when they were in college, they could hold the ball a little bit longer and wait for things to open up. In the pros, you have to anticipate more. You've got to throw the ball in those windows and hope your guy comes in that window when the ball arrives at the same time. Otherwise, you're going to get smashed like we saw him the other night. Same thing with Bo Nix. The game just speeds up so much when you get from preseason or make that training camp to preseason games to regular season games. And these guys have been penalized because they haven't played a lot in the preseason. And if you don't play a lot in the preseason as a young guy, and all of a sudden you're getting your on the job training when all the big lights are bright, you're going to struggle. There's no question about it. And you're seeing these young guys struggle a little bit early in the season, but I think they all have tremendous upside. And I think as the season moves along, I think they'll get better each week.
It seems, especially particularly with Bo Nix, it's a lot of dinking and dunking. Do you think he could be a really good, not necessarily an elite one, but can he be a really good starting quarterback in the NFL? Does he have what it takes?
I think he can be a solid quarterback. I don't think he'll ever be a superstar in this league. I've watched him play since he was a freshman down at Auburn, and he had his struggles at Auburn, went to Oregon and had some success. But the talent that he played with at Oregon was a lot better than what he's playing with right now at the pro level compared to the college level. He's playing it with elite college level talent. He's not playing with elite pro level talent right now. So he's only going to be so good in the pros, but I think he will get better. Again, he's adjusting to the speed of the game, and he's a mature guy. He's played a lot of college football, but still, once you get into the pros, it's a different story.
I'll ask one non-quarterback question, just because it's a city you obviously know incredibly well. The Texans not looking too bad. I know there's a lot of hope around this season. Are they actually contenders, or is that getting a little bit too far ahead of myself?
I think they're a contender. I really do. You look at what they did last year. They were a
Yeah,
really young team, rookie quarterback who ends up being the rookie of the year. They had the defensive rookie of the year on the other side of the ball. They go into the playoffs, they win a playoff game, and then
yeah,
they take Baltimore to everything they can handle in the second round. So this is a team that comes into the season with tremendous confidence. They added Stephon Diggs on defense. I mean, on offense as another weapon, and also Mixon in the backfield. So yeah, this is a team that you better be serious about, because CJ Stroud is only going to continue to keep getting better and better. He's young, he's still on a rookie contract, so that means they can continue to keep building their roster. So yeah, this is a serious contender, the Houston Texans, no question about it.